I thought it's going to what y'all need.
All right, thank you, sir.
So you can sit down there. Oh, that took so long. Sorry. You ain't kidding, man. God.
Wow.
There's no more. There's one.
Okay.
Good God.
Are y'all ready? Okay, we left the closed executive session at 7:57. It's, looks like about 8 o'clock at this point, and we're going to go back into regular session. Let's see here. We're resuming the regular meeting, and we're going to begin with agenda item number 4. Do I have a motion in regards to action taken following the executive session?
Mayor, I make a motion that we hire a Binger Law Firm as discussed in closed session.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Glass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Okay?
Thank y'all. We'll be in touch.
Yes, yes, sir. It's time for mayor or mayor pro tem announcements. Councilman Glass, have you got some words to say?
I do not.
Announcements? Okay, I really don't have anything. A pretty good crew here right now, so let's just go on with the meeting. We've recognized our employee of the month. At this point, we're going to have a Viking representative, Jason Decker, explain and discuss the city of Seymour service for City Hall water tower and the standpipe on the stadium drive up by the school.
First of all, if you don't mind, Mayor.
No, go right ahead.
Remember, we talked about this last month, and we talked about transitioning from our current water tower contractor to Viking, and I guess the rationale for moving forward, or at least moving forward this discussion, is that we could save the city of Seymour about $35,000 over the next 10 years and still provide a better quality service. So I asked Jason to come at least maybe explain this a little bit more to y'all and let y'all to ask me questions and take that into further consideration before we move forward. So, Jason, you want to entertain the council?
You hear me? How about no? Good.
Take it out.
Take it out. All right. How's this? How about now?
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me come in and speak with you this evening. This has been kind of a long journey. I don't even remember exactly when I stumbled through the doors at City Hall and met Jeff in the hallway. I was driving through town, saw the water towers, wanted to come in and just see if maybe you had anything planned or you had anything in place to take care of those for the future, and started a discussion with Jeff. And sort of right off the bat, sensed a little bit of frustration and lack of communication between the company he was working with now. And I asked if we could talk further about it, and he invited me back. And I've climbed both towers myself. I've done inspection reports. And I actually brought, if it's okay, I brought a few, just a couple copies if anyone wanted to look through, if that's okay, just nothing. So there's just a few copies of each one, and these aren't true detailed inspection reports, but they were to something that I was able to look at and sit down with Chase and Jeff and just have an idea what the current condition of the tanks were. Upon inspecting them, you'll find that the standpipe's in pretty decent condition. The outside needs a little bit of touch-ups, and I think you'll get a pretty good life out of it. The inside, sort of the same thing. The elevated water tower has it still has a good protective coating on the outside, and get a little bit more life out of that. The rear needs to get done. If you look through towards the end of the reports on the elevated tower, you can see the pictures of the interior. You'll see some rusting, kind of a combination of rusting and staining, but you can see some corrosion. So that sort of just gives you a ballpark idea. And I thought, sometimes it's kind of neat too. Someone that's never climbed a water tower, that's kind of a little storybook of what it's like to climb one. It gives you a little, like you're with me walking, going up the ladder. So after a lot of discussions with Jeff, kind of going back and forth, I don't even know any times that we met. I was going to look for an apartment out here. I think, 6, 7, I don't even know how many times. But we were very thorough, and I wanted to make sure that I was trying to put something together that was going to be of real value, be something that was solid. There wasn't open-ended questions as to what's getting done when or where or how. And I think the program that I came up with, Jeff, does that. So your current situation, I think really kind of to cut to the chase, is that we're a customer service business. Lots of people paint tanks. Lots of people clean tanks. Lots of people inspect tanks. And I think the difference here between myself and your Viking in your current situation, one of the big differences is, just to be straight, is me. So how we operate is once we partner together on this, I'm your guy. So if Chase has a question on something, Jeff has a question on something, they pick up the phone and they call me. They don't send an email to a customer service line hoping that someone's going to get back to them. Or as I'm pretty sure, Jeff, during this, you were trying to get some questions answered. And I remember you just waiting, for responses or straight answer or, what was going to happen. So there's a money savings in the program that I came up with. There's all that good stuff. But I think more importantly, the program that I put together for you, there's different ways to do it. And I bet you anything, if you ask me a question and say, hey, well, what about this? Can we do it this way? Well, I'm sure we probably could. But what I came up with, I felt was the best value based on the condition, current condition of the tanks, the current condition of your relationship with your current vendor, the communication gaps. This is going to eliminate all of that. There's a lot of different ways I can do the fees. I have some other. I'm a visual person, so if you can't tell, I like when people hand me like big pictures and little words. It helps me understand. So what I put together here, and this is Brandon. Hi. So Brandon actually was with me the first day that I popped in here and met Jeff. And I honestly don't even, I think it might have been last year, end of last year. So I blew that up as big as I possibly could. And if I can take one of those. All right. So I just have the pictures on there. Want to make sure everyone was clear on what tanks we're talking about and which one is which and all that good stuff. And when you look on this, so this is a schedule. And so what I did is I based this off a 12-year schedule based off the needs of what I see on the tank. And I don't want you to pay for anything more or less from what you need. So this is what you're going to need. And to tell you, to kind of step back a little bit, I've been in the coatings industry for 30 years. It's all I've ever done. I don't know if anyone knows what NACE is, but NACE, SSPC, they set the standards for coating, sandblasting, all those things. I've been certified as a coating inspector since 2013, I think now, 2013. I'm a level 1 coating inspector. Brandon's a level 2 coating inspector. So we're coatings guys. We know how long something's going to last, what needs to be done to make it last. And so this schedule that I put together, I feel is pretty solid based on some of the things we have on here. So for example, your 150 elevated tank water tower, I have that getting that done right away, the inside of that. And if you looked at those pictures, I think you would agree with me that that's pretty certain that needs to be done. So then you move out and you can tell the light blue is clean out, or the very light blue is just your inspections. The little darker blue, sky blue is a clean out. And then you can see when you're painting interior or exterior. So if you look at our price, the way it comes out at the bottom there, it would be the same price all the way across if you'd like. I played with some stuff after talking with Jeff and just, showed you if we last the first 2 years and then the same number the rest of the time. It comes out to the same amount. I actually think I was off $6 at the end. But you can see significant savings over what you're paying now. And to be honest with you, this number that I put down for your current vendor, I'm being generous. So that their interest rates are in their contracts are 5% every 3 years. And I figured this out at way less than 4. So you're probably, that number at that end is probably going to be well over 40. So I was trying to show you at a minimum, this is what you're going to save. And again, I really don't even want to harp on the save. You're not getting what you deserve. You're not getting what you for. This is very clear. This would be in your contract. For example, I have a copy of a contract. So if you'd like to vote on this tonight, sign it, and I'll be more than happy to give it to you. But there is you would, and I'm here. You can take a look, pass it around if you want to see it. But you'd see on the very last page, there's a defined scope of what I'm doing and what I'm doing with it. And nothing would be deterred or moved off of that without your written consent. So for example, if we have the outside of the standpipe, or the inside of the standpipe, let's say in, year 11, I don't remember which one it is. And all of a sudden we look at it at year 9 and we're like, I think we need to do this a year sooner. We'll discuss it with you. And if you agree, we'll go ahead and do it. If not, it could go the opposite way as well. We might sit down with you and say, hey, I think you can get another year. This is what it looks like. This is my opinion and recommendation. How do you feel comfortable with it? And if you say, no, I don't, I want you to do it this year, well, we'll do it. So it's on the schedule. That's kind of really cut and dry. There's really no what ifs or maybes or.
On the elevated tank, I don't know if you had you rate like today, or when you looked at it on a scale of 10 inside, could you, I mean, I know they got repainted at some point 10 years ago. I don't know. Sometime ago.
So the tanks, and I can tell you that, and I'm not here to bash anybody here. I'm really to talk about me, but I can tell you that, some of the companies out there, they have this thing where they go around and tell everyone they're going to, like, every 10 years, every 10 years, every 10 years. It's just, it's really tough to say that. That's why at this point with the situation and what we have going on, I want to put you on this start to finish 12 year. I don't want to put you on because once we get to the end of this, I don't want you paying for stuff that we may not need to do. So once I get to this 11th year, 12th, then we're going to reevaluate everything. A tank could last 15 years. But a visual inspection is what's up. So I don't know when exactly your elevated tank, the inside. If I had to rate the inside, you've seen the inside, what would you rate the inside? I'm thinking probably.
Well, what I would say is it's in 10 years time, I think it should look better than it does. It should.
Oh, I definitely think so too. If it's been.
It should look, we've seen tanks that are way worse. So we see them all, and we see tanks that are like, oh my God, I can't believe this is your drinking water. You're not there. But it should be in better shape than it is for a tank that's being annually maintained.
Right. I think that's the correct answer. That's the correct answer. Is it should look better than it does. So for example, I don't want to just come in and charge you to. So have you seen the inside of the standpipe in the picture? Okay. So you see that ring around the middle? She's nodding, so I'm going to go with her. She goes, I think that's a lot of staining. I don't necessarily, from my experience, I believe Brandon agrees with me, but we can't tell for sure. So what we did is we have that based on, and we're going to do a clean out in that in a couple of years. And then when we do the clean out, we'd have the opportunity to clean that and see what's stained and what's not. And if that's just the only area that we got a little bit of corrosion, then we're going to go ahead and touch that up and we're going to get a lot more life. And instead of saying it's 80,000, we're going to paint that whole thing right now. Now we can just do some touch ups on that. And now we get you that's what should be being done. So that's the whole goal is to keep your costs down, manage the assets, push the life as long as possible. And make sure you understand where everything is all the time. So what our inspections, how are we for you now, Jeff? Until you asked for it, once I started lurking around.
Until I started throwing a fit, and then I finally got one. I actually put it in their council packet, but that's the first one I've gotten without asking for it.
Right. So how this is going to work is I'm probably not going to be the one I can only be in so many places at once. I'm probably not going to be the person that does your inspections, but does the inspection. They're going to send that back to our engineers. Our engineers are going to review it, and they're going to give me the okay. And if there's anything on there they recommend, they give me everything. I put the report together. I come on over. I sit down and with either Chase or whoever wants to be involved, and I say, here's where everything looks this year. This is what we're on track to do for you next year. This is what we did for you last year. Everybody happy? Yes, no, why, what's going on? And we move forward. And we do that on an annual basis. It sounds like a lot, but it's probably a 30-minute meeting that there's a lot of confusion or questions of what's going on, what's going to happen.
If the council have some questions, I think what would we do? I think I'd like to look at the contract and yes. Yeah, that's what. Chase, if you got anything you'd like to add or.
As long as what they're saying, backed up by the contract, I don't see any problem with going.
Okay.
As long as we're out of our contract with.
Yeah.
To us 90 days
Yeah.
before, and then
We can cancel in 90 days, right? 90 days notice.
when does that end?
You have,
Know when that ends?
you have to cancel within 90 days prior to the contract date. So there is a window that you have to know what
Gotcha.
that is
You're talking about with Viking or with these other folks?
with them. Okay, yeah. And so if it's, if it's December, then by September, you
Gotcha.
have to, so it's, you're
Yeah.
probably coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is they generally are just say, okay. So
Well, we appreciate you coming and
I appreciate you having me. Thank you for giving me so much time. I really
You bet.
appreciate it.
you bet.
I spent a lot of time on this and I am grateful that you're,
I appreciate your tenacity, stopping and talking to Jeff half a dozen times. That means something to me. What about from the folks out here, sitting out here? Does anybody have a comment? You're welcome to speak. You got 3 minutes if you'd like to. All right.
Just a small addition to it and part of the work that Jason's done in coming out here, for what it's worth. But he came, one of the meetings that he had with Jeff was with the owner of our company. So, I think that's something that wouldn't happen with your current provider. We've really tried to show you who we are. I've come in, I didn't contribute a lot tonight, but I'm here. If you have any questions, I'm from the home office, I guess you could say. So, and I've been working with Jason on this for every time he talks to Jeff, then we talk and we've tried to put together something that solves your problems.
Refresh my memory. The home office is in
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska. Okay. Gotcha.
and I'm in Bedford and one of our safety directors in Tyler, one of our main production managers is in Tyler as well. We've got people in League City and then we've got crews all over the city. They're awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Again,
Thank you so
I
much, Jason.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. 7B on the agenda, discuss the 5 outdoor warning sirens as presented in writing by John Hostas.
Okay, so again, I didn't put this in action item, but at least wanted to bring this to y'all's attention, at least get y'all's feedback on how y'all would like maybe proceed or at least start that discussion. But John Hostas did come visit with me and of course was concerned about the antiquated siren system that we have in the community. And so I've given y'all a lot of information, so I won't go over all that. However, I think that the council needs to at least start discussing on how we'd like for us to proceed. Either we want to move away from the old siren system, which we know is very historical. There's no foolproof system, but we know to replace it, it's going to be quite expensive for the city. Or we can use some more modern day technology as a way to alert our community of inclement weather or of a tornado. I have talked to John by email. They already have a system in place. It's an app that we can push out for, it's kind of like the Amber Alert. It starts beeping and screaming at you and look at your phone and say, tornado warning, take cover. So there are opportunities to keep our community safe, or we could do both. So I didn't know what direction y'all might be wanting to go. At least start that discussion. I can make a decision tonight, of course. And didn't know if y'all might have any questions, thoughts.
Any questions from the council? I appreciate the information. It's a lot of information. And I've done a little research myself. In some cities have done away with the siren completely. It's hard to get parts for some of the older systems and it's expensive to install a new one. Is the county using an app system now? Is that what you said?
Yes, I forget the name. What the name? It's called Sense Alert or something like that. Yeah, but yes, they do. They already use that now, and they said we can partner with them, and then they would send that information out, or they would give us access. We'd have to determine how that would work. Perfect. Since he's our emergency coordinator, he'd be the one that would have that information first.
Any other comments from council or suggestions? Anybody from the folks sitting out here? Welcome to weigh in on it. Was this text my gov? Is that a different thing or is that what you're talking about? Discuss and give direction. Moving on into the agenda, number 7C, discuss and give direction to City Administrator Jeff Brazier regarding information received from text my gov. Thinking that might be the app, is it?
Did you remember what that is? I don't know what that is.
So we looked for another vendor for a text alert option, see what it would cost us to own a text alert option. So this is from them. The quote is a year old. I got it in September of last year, I believe. I'm sure it's only gone up and I bet it didn't go down. Essentially, this is exactly what the county already has where you subscribe to it. We send you a text. If you'll notice though that you are charged, you have to, once you exceed 25,000 texts, you're charged per text. That's how this program is set up. I don't know that we would send out 25,000 texts, but if we sent out 2,000 texts every time we had an inclement weather alert, which happens often here, we could find ourselves in a hole if we're pushing like weather alerts from OKC or something like that. So I think partnering with the text alert that the county has is probably going to save us money in comparison to this. John did say too that we could utilize it for boil alerts, any type of emergency thing that is outside of the weather alert as well.
Well, actually, I guess he maybe reneged on that one, but he said he did not want to use it for anything other than inclement weather.
Inclement weather.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Something for us to study and look into in the future. All right. There any comment on that from folks? Welcome to comment. If not, we've got city administrator reports.
I was asking the council if there's anything I would like us to do regarding either one of these recommendations for a future agenda item. They didn't know what you want me to do.
So when you were talking to John, what did does he recommend the text system? I mean.
You know, he said he's kind of on the fence a little bit. I think we're all a little skeptical to move away from the alarm system. That's something that we've always done. So he never really committed to one way or the other. I sense, you know, he not quoting me, but I sense, you know, he would prefer move more to the alert system, but I don't think he wants to really make that recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's probably leaning towards both, but I mean, what was it, $300,000 or something to?
I think it's over 100,000.
119. I can do it. But
But
it was, yeah, so that's to replace it all. We already get these texts from like Amber Alert, if John and them are already using it in the county. Can we not keep the antiquated system and use it while it's still working and transition to that text system and see how it works and then look into potentially replacing it?
absolutely. We could try that for a while and all make it.
Or just dissolve it.
Our system does currently work. It's
Right.
not fully functional, but I think there's a few that doesn't work.
We do them simultaneously, and then if it does stop working, then it stops working, and it is what it is. But we already have the text stuff in place, so people are already used to that. I mean, it'll go to anybody. If you have a flip phone, if you have a cell phone to go to, you don't have to have a smartphone. You can go to anything. So
And if you're in a house, you don't hear the sirens half the time.
I haven't heard them since I moved back. I haven't heard them once since I moved back, so I don't know if we tested them or not.
If we discuss like the elderly, maybe they'll have a cell phone, they're not gonna hear it anyway. But, not that they're deaf, outside in the house. But they're also gonna see, if they're watching their TV, it's gonna pop up too. They're gonna get some kind of alert.
I've also heard if they don't have a cell phone, I hadn't followed up on this one, but I think there's a brand that you can get where you can get like weather radios. And maybe we could get those out to maybe start community that doesn't have a phone.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, I think you're it'd be pretty hard to find somebody, literally or not, that doesn't have some kind of cell phone or device that has a, TV, cell phone, iPad, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, speaking out of turn, I think it'd be hard to find somebody. I got a 80-something-year-old grandma that's got an iPad. She's glued to it most of the time. So, and she don't know how to use it, but she's glued to it. So, I mean,
So, with their tax system, would we like help pay for theirs or something? Because
Basically, said we could use it, but that might be something that,
I didn't know if it was the same setup, if they went over. They do, then that cost them.
correct, yeah. We never talked about any money. And I assumed that they weren't gonna charge us. We could just use it as a tornado or something. They would just send that alert out.
Well, what I was thinking, if we did help, like pay half of, we did have a bull situation, like we could use theirs at that point. They could do that.
I think that's something he would discuss, but I kind of sense too that he doesn't want to overuse it because some of the people start ignoring it, and it's they get alerts, then they're like, oh, an alert from the city. That type. So I guess what I'm saying is that if we were very use it very minimally, we might be open to more alerts or something like that, but not for just anything.
If it was something that blown up or something, he probably wouldn't, think the mind putting an alert out there or something. I mean, but not just for every single thing that ever. All right.
I mean, you can target those alerts to just people within the city. So if he was worried about, not overcrowding the county, if we have city alerts, you can target those. I mean, they're geographical, so you can target it within a over working their system or something like that. But, I don't know. I would just get with them to see if it's going to cost more, and then if it does, how much would it cost for us to add to their system?
So you're suggesting pursue that angle, get Jeff to pursue that.
Yeah,
Part of it.
find out how much it costs to piggyback with their system because it's already in place. So I mean, why create a new system if they already have one that can connect to them, and then keep using our antiquated system as it is. And if something happens, throw the sirens on. If you hear them, you hear them. You don't, you don't. I mean,
Right. Jeff, is that enough direction? You
Yeah,
need,
but at some point, if it's not working, people need to know that we're not going to, sound the alarm. I'm saying at this point because we're just going to take that to the commission. And we're going to just text.
yeah, you just send out a text like, "Hey, this is the new emergency system.
Well,
See more."
I really think people need to start signing up for this. Text messages already. Wouldn't start.
Yeah,
Let them know if someday it's gonna quit, so we'll have to have this to know what's going on. Yeah, I think those kids start getting their, like, text out.
we've got a
Know that you can't fully depend on our current siren system.
partially functioning system. We need to transition. You bet. Anybody else? Anybody out here? If not, Jeff, did you want to do the city administrator report? 8.
Let's just go ahead and open the comments and get all that out of the way because we got people waiting.
Okay, public comments. Where is it? Oh, okay, gotcha. Citizens' comments. And we're gonna go to number 9. We'll get to 8 later. Citizens' comments. Ms. Torres, have you got folks that want to speak? Nobody wrote anything down? Does anyone want to speak at this point? Typically, they have to write. Do we stand on that? Okay. All right, let's go to, we go back to 8 or public hearings. Okay, perfect. Item number 10A, second and final public hearing regarding a specific use permit concerning 0.386 acres, lot 4, block 13 subdivision wheat, located at 1101 East Nevada Street. The request is to place a single wide manufactured home. And this is brought by Mr. Mike Horton. Mike, would you like to speak on that?
Just hold it.
Hear me? Okay. thank you all for having me here and taking time to hear what I have to say. Yeah, I'd like to put a new single wide on my lot down there at the old house I'm living in now. It's pretty well had it. And, I've been busy trying to get it all cleaned up down there right now. And, so I can proceed on getting it all fixed up. Don't have any questions?
Any questions from the council? It's a single wide, what,
Single wide,
what-
it's just a 16 by 60.
how, what year model is it, or is that
It's gonna be brand new,
brand new?
brand new.
The house next door, do you have any plans for it?
Right now, I'm gonna use it kind of like a storage shed because I got so much stuff in that house. I'm not gonna be able to get it all in that little single wide I'm fixing up yet. So I'm still gonna keep my mowers up there and then my vehicles parked up there.
Right? Any questions?
On this, on your, site plan, top drawings, you kind of just have it drawn two different ways. Do you have a plan or you know where it's gonna go as is? Or-
I have two different ways, how I want to put it. I won't know until I have a guy from Wichita come down, but it, and look at it himself, so he can show me which be the best way to put it.
Okay, and then you're getting it from the place in Wichita?
Yes,
Are they gonna come, are they gonna tether it down and anchor it for
ye-
winds and everything?
yes, they are.
You're gonna have skirting across the bottom,
Yes,
have
sir.
it completely closed off?
Yes, sir.
And as far as like the down tree and all the,
I'm gonna try,
Timber and stuff.
I'm gonna try to get somebody, hopefully from the city, come up there and maybe cut all that, all dead stuff away. And, I done what I could on the lot myself.
so you're saying you're gonna use your existing driveway and everything, and you're just gonna be walking
Yes.
over to that?
Yes,
So you're not planning on cutting into the curb or adding a new driveway or anything like that?
not right now. I had, maybe later, but not right now.
This is gonna be your primary home.
Yes, yes, sir.
We did have another, letter come in yesterday via email. So we only contacted 3 different people. 2 of the 3 said they did not want it in the neighborhood. And then we had one that was an email from the school, which you should have in your packet, and they were unable to have a meeting in time for them to make a full decision, but this is the recommendation from the superintendent on it. There were only 3 property owners contacted in this process.
It's presently zoned. Is it seeking a,
As an R1. What we're seeking is a specific use permit, which doesn't change the zone, it changes the use for that specific person.
so should this person no longer own this property, or should it change its use? It would go back to just strictly, somebody else would have to come in and request another use for this property. Is that right?
Essentially, that's how specific use permit works. Yes.
Like I say, I do intend to get all that cleaned off around it. Those old dead trees hauled away.
Okay. Any other comments from the council or observations?
I guess my only concern, and I've always had a kind of a concern with the mobile homes, like that are not those things, because I dealt with them a lot in Wichita. Is just that they tend to wear down a lot faster than a house does.
Yes.
And so that's usually the worry, is that when we start putting them up, especially right there on a thoroughfare right next to the school,
Yeah.
the hospital, some,
Yeah.
more important things get down, is just the upkeep. And then what you would be doing with the property and the house next to it. So I
Yes.
mean, if the property next to it, if you plan on fixing it up and then having 2 different people living on the lot, that kind of thing, it can get a little messy. But I don't know if you're looking at the primary home.
Yeah.
For you,
Yeah.
and I guess the only other thing is using your house as just a storage.
Yeah, because I got so much stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my main concern with that. And then just the planning, I guess you'll be contacting Lauren and getting back with her on how you're gonna actually place it. and everything.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Once the permit is issued, I really don't have anything left to do with it. You will, if you grant the permit as requested, the site plan that is with the application is what you are approving. So if it comes down to, we're gonna put that double wide 150 feet to the west or somewhere, not in the site plan, we will have to go through this process again, because what you would be approving is what is being presented.
What's on the site plan.
Yes.
So if you do it differently than what you present, then you'd have to come back.
Yeah.
And that's why we did the two options, because we weren't real sure how it would be placed.
Like I say, I won't know till that guy comes down, looks at the lot himself. And he'll tell me which way you think would be better to put it.
Lauren, can it be older tabled until he finds out more about that? So that
You
way
could
he
do
can-
anything.
I
with
mean,
this.
it could be set up however he wants. I mean, we have no idea what it's gonna look like at all right now.
Yes.
Other than an L-shaped Sharpie drawing.
Yes, that can be done. What we were required from the state is to have 2 public hearings. This is our second public hearing. If you choose not to take action at this time, table it for next month, you can do that. We have met the state requirements.
And I'm not trying to say that because it's a real minimal. And I don't want you to get stuck in a part where he comes and says, there's no way I can put it this way or this way. And now you're having to go through this whole process and we have to go through this whole hassle again. You gotta wait 3 more months, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would just think that for me, it'd be more comfortable maybe holding off on deciding what we want to do until we know more ideas. Because they'll provide a pretty good plan about how, and they'll provide a model of what it's going to look like and everything.
Yeah.
They should. And then that way we can make a better decision.
So I did contact the company and he sent me a model, which I thought was included in here. It's not. However, the skirting, tie down, etc., that wasn't very well defined. And I did speak with him and try to explain to him what I was requesting for our conversation. And I don't know that he knew exactly what I was asking him. And so I know. And I told him that this would be very similar to the request made by Wichita Falls Planning and Zoning. And he said, well, I've never been requested to submit any of those type things. And I was like, well, I know that's not true. So, and I don't know if just the person I spoke to didn't have the information or what the holdup was on that. So I did request that information as you had asked for me to do so. We just didn't receive it.
Right. At this point, thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Does anyone else comment on this, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's public. Does anyone else have something to say regarding this particular agenda, part of the agenda? If not, we will address this later in the meeting. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, towards the end. All right, thank you. We'll get to this again here in a little while. Okay. All right, thank you. All right. 10B, the only public hearing for an easement to allow carports and sidewalk to remain in Idaho Street. I believe that's East Idaho Street. And until such time said structures are replaced, and also the closure of an alley, which is the east 10 feet of the north 100 feet of the alley between lots 1, lots 2, 11 and 12, block 19, McLean Mission, property also known as 610 East Idaho. I see a couple of gentlemen in the audience out here. Would the council like to speak on this? And then, where Jimmy Jones used to live there, back down there. It's that's the last house, I believe, on the right. It dead ends right there, more or less.
Yes, did y'all get a copy of the survey?
Yes.
on this? Yeah, we had this property surveyed and the structure goes right up to the street. And, so there's a sidewalk and a couple of carports approaching the street. And then also on the west side, there's an unopened alley. There's a privacy fence that's approaching into that. So we're just asking for an easement, to allow those, at this time, until they're torn down, so we can get power.
I noticed that it calls for the closing of that alley, or the request. I'm looking at the water department folks looked at it, and the electrical department, and there's some close or abandon that alley due to power line access.
Yeah, and we resubmitted, that easement agreement and, just requested an easement on the alley. Not close.
Not close.
That's right.
That's helpful. Okay. Thank you. That's Chris Jacoby. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, that was kind of the thing that kind of me, but if the easement is is for existing structures in the alley, not to close the alley. So the department and the water department can get through there. You don't have any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you a lot, Chris. Let's see what else we got here. The 10C, first public hearing regarding a specific use permit request to place an RV as a temporary residence on 72/100ths of an acre, which is lots 8 through 12, block 32 subdivision McLean, located at 409 North Murray Street in Seymour, Texas. And is there someone here that would like to speak on that? There you go.
Where's what at? Okay, this is the house on Murray that's being built.
The new one.
Mhm. Yeah, so, the Hughes have requested a specific use permit as a temporary residence use their RV while their home's being built, and then it will be stored on the property. This is one of two that is required, so this is your application public hearing. And then we'll have the next public hearing that, okay, so.
Everybody, y'all kind of know where that is, at least in there. Okay. All right, it's moving right along. Item number 11, consent agenda. Jeff, do you want to go through that? I'll read this, whatever you want to do. Okay. 11A, approve the June 15th, 2023 meeting minutes. B, approve the June 2023 City of Seymour accounts payable. 11C, a financial report by Mary Griffin. Look through that this afternoon. It's not light reading. 11D, consider and approve resolution number 1548, authorizing continued participation with the Atmos Cities Steering Committee. Questions? Any comment from the public? All right.
I'll make the motion we approve consent agenda as read. I second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Billy Hendricks. All right, action items. 12A. Discuss, consider, and take action to approve a specific use permit for Mike Horton at 1101 East Nevada Street for a single wide manufactured home. Skylar, do you have a suggestion or?
I mean, personally, I would suggest that we kind of table it and let him get his plan together before we set something in stone and make him swear by it. So I mean, I was skeptical, but if he's using that as his primary residence and everything, I'm a little more on board with it. But now I kind of don't want to lock him into something and then he have to redo his whole process and be held up, again.
It needs to be,
It's all in the air right now for his planning and we've given this approval. We're not really approving anything. We approved
a
possibility that may not even happen because he's got to get inspected by the home site. I mean,
Well, I'm like, I want to see if there's gonna be underpinning. Make sure we put that around that. I don't want it to be exposed, all that. I want the guy to tell him what it's gonna look like.
yeah, I want to see the plan from the home, from the buyer who is buying it from, because I've seen a lot of those. I'm saying that they've never done this before. It's not very reassuring because I've dealt with a lot of those companies and a lot of them will give you a very detailed plan with the skirting and the hurricane ties or the tornado ties for us. And they tie them down and make them safe. So make sure they're solid.
I think to me, the biggest single thing is, are you okay with a single wide mobile home in that location? We got 3 replies back.
I mean, I'm
Two.
two.
Kind of 2.5.
I mean, I don't think we have to say if we're okay with it. I think we're going to table it and wait until we get more information.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done the public hearing, so we
Yeah.
table it, get more information before we make a decision. So we get back a really small, cheap looking thing that they're coming through and we don't like it, then we can say no at a later time. But right now, putting something in stone doesn't really seem fair for him at all, for the citizen. It doesn't seem fair to put something in stone and we don't really know yet, or for us.
Right. You think?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion. We table it till next month. We get all the information that we need from the manufacturer.
I second it.
Got a motion seconded by Council Lady Gillespie, excuse me. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? It's 5-0. Mr. Horton still here? He left, okay. All right. All right, what are we? Action. Let 12B, discuss, consider, and take action to approve an easement to allow carports and sidewalks to remain in Idaho Street until such time as structures are replaced and the closure of it says here, the closure of the alley, which is the east. Should we leave that out? What?
Yes, so that would be the original.
Okay.
So we only got the United States and then that had, Angelina. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the easement agreement that you have in your folder this time, that is the.
Okay, it's got
You
the,
sent it to me this morning.
all right, perfect. Okay. I'm reading this, but we're not closing any alleys tonight. That's the thing. And you got that from the title company?
Yeah.
Okay. Till such time. This is all in relation to property, which we mentioned a while ago, 610 East Idaho. So basically the easement to allow the carport sidewalk to remain in Idaho Street until such time as structures are in place. And any structures in the alley are allowed to remain there, is my understanding. So it's in the paperwork, right? We'll sign at the end of this meeting. Any questions? Have y'all got anything, Chris or Jeff, anything y'all like to say? You're welcome to say. You got 3 minutes.
Just wanted to say that, this is a unique situation, I think, one that I haven't seen in my 5 years of selling real estate. There's a water meter installed by the city, and the gas meter installed by Atmos that are 20 foot out into the street. The house was built in 1940, 1950. So the city put in a water meter in the middle of the street and hooked it up to this house. The house is right on the property line. There's a sidewalk, there's trees, there's a curb. And it's at a dead end. It's at a dead end. There's nothing developed in that street. Just gotta go across Sweetwater Creek. And so just keep that in mind. The city put in a water meter and allowed a gas meter to go in 20 foot beyond that property line.
All right. Jeff, thank you. That's Jeff Groves. Anyone else out here like to speak? You're welcome to do that. If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the easement for that 610 east side of Old Street.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, there's none. 5-0, it's approved. Okay, very good. I guess that's it. No, I'm just kidding, let's see, this is 10 or 12C, discuss, consider, and take action regarding the opening of Salt Fork Recreational Complex gun range. So council have got something? If not, we'll start.
I say open it up.
Okay. Councilman Lash says, open it up.
I agree.
Start generating some money from it. A little bit anyway.
I want everybody to speak. I did some research on this a couple of years ago. One of the things I've got, a couple of things. It's a council decision and doubt about that. Is that there's a situation out there when is in 2019 when the council, when it was purchased, not purchased, the lease was in a year early. And as part of the terms of that lease termination agreement, the city allowed a shooting club, Seymour Stool Shooting Association. It was Mr. Fudge. To continue it allowed them to continue to have shooting events out there. And apparently there's no charge involved. It just struck me as very unusual. We have it all back. It's ours, but they can use it anytime they want to. It's like if I sold Lan a car, it's like I'm going to need it a few times a year, keep it gassed up, ready to go. And it just doesn't seem like a very good deal. But that's something that concerns me, and I guess it can be worked around. They've had their events out there and stuff, but I don't think there's been any fees paid to, kind of like on the golf course, if they put on an event, golf association, they do pay a fee. And so that, to me, that's an issue.
I think Mark.
Yeah.
I think they have 2 shoots a year. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, if you remember this, I think we give him access free for those 2 shoots.
Right.
Because of the deal he sold it back to us for. We got that place for probably 25% of what it was actually worth. And so I think that's why we granted him the 2 shoots free for however long, but I don't think they can come out there and just shoot anytime they want to. That's what concerned me. I've got that little agreement if you want to read it.
But if you read that agreement, it don't say anything in there that says we can allow it, give it to them for free. It just says we let them use it. It don't say for free.
I don't know. It says, the shooting club will be allowed to continue to hold annual tournaments, plural, with full access to the property. I mean, 10, 2. I mean, they've had 2, I guess. Somebody said they had more than 2 out there a year. I don't know. But it's the weird part about it is we got it back, agreement, but we got all the permanently fixed. And if we just waited a year, we got it for nothing. But you know, again, I wasn't there. I don't know what was going on. But, and the last thing, and I don't want to belabor the point, we got some folks that want to talk, is, you know, the people that, I've talked to a couple of people that, you know, kind of had the bullets flying into their yard, and they didn't come tonight, but they're very concerned about it. And, I understand there were extenuating circumstances possibly with all that, but, none of us live around it. None of us here at this table are even close to it. And if it was close to us, would we consider it differently? Maybe we wouldn't, you know, maybe we'd still be for it. But it's a lot easier to be for it when we're not having to listen to it. Scott.
I think for you to kind of assume that we don't put those kids' safety in mind when we're talking.
Oh, no,
about
I don't assume that.
Because you just said we live there, we might think about it differently. I know the hospice, I know the kids that play with, you know, our kids, and I've met the little ones and stuff, and I'm pretty well versed with gun ranges and how they work and stuff. I personally with my kids outside, and I would feel the same way about their kids. If it's ran properly and it's set up the way it is and people are using it responsibly, they're in no harm. In my opinion, I went out there and I looked at it, inspected it. I did, you know, Google Maps kind of inspections on different rounds of how they would operate out there. And I would live there. I would live on the other side of that range comfortably with my kids outside. And I think that that's something that we've all considered and talked about, especially after reading and hearing and probably talking to the hospices. I'm sure they talked to all of us at least once about this. But yeah, I wanted to say that I definitely considered their kids in mind whenever I was thinking about this gun range.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to indicate that you didn't care, but I know you do.
Add to that, on gun range rules, number 2 is talking about hours of operation, and in red it says recommended by John Hostas, range hours 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. during daylight savings time and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. during standard time. So evidently what we've done out there, the safety side of it, John's agreed to it because he was very adamant about not opening it up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he was.
And I didn't agree with him. I mean, I didn't disagree with him. I agreed with him totally. But the safety issues we've dealt with out there now, evidently John doesn't have a problem with it.
And I also think that over time, as we start building back a little bit of revenue from out there, that we could even build more baffles and add to that to make it even safer if we do add more safety measures as we go along. But
one of my main issues was, and I think I've discussed it with you, is how many years that thing been out there and it's only happened one time because of an incident that somebody didn't understand what was going on. Some got moved or something else, but nothing's ever happened out there except one time. It's been out there for years.
Let me just throw this in the mix. What about leasing it to somebody? People really want it out there. The city's got liability. I mean, you know, I think, Jeff, I think you mentioned at one time, we have to be covered. We have to have range people that are trained, range masters. I don't know what the correct term is, but somebody that has some training in that.
For insurance, no, you don't have to. You can do it.
Well, the insurance company actually emailed me. I've got documentation that says that in order to be covered for liability or be covered by insurance through TML, that we have to have a certified range master out there during anytime anyone's shooting. There are some other things that we need to make sure that we get taken care of before we just open it up, but it's not nothing major. Or some little things, including having a range master.
If we were to lease it for a private organization, if we leased it to they could have up the minimum of $500,000 of liability insurance with no range officers around. They just have to have it where it's gated off. So we'd have to close it off back there at the end of hole 8 where we've created that road. You'd have to put a fence across there, close it off to where it's not easily accessible. But you could lease it you could come into a lease agreement with like a gun club or a private gun club, and then they could use it that way. Whether you charge them something minimal or a lot and still have it as a senior gun club, or we could use it and make revenue off of it and have access, but you could alleviate that liability or move it around, but potentially something to look into.
Just, you know, I thought about selling it, but you don't, there's no, access is the problem. You'd have to come through the country club or country club. Saltport. And I don't know, do the Orsacks, are they on one end of it? Do they bump up against the gun range over southwest? Rose is on one side. Who's on the south side?
Eric Widener.
Oh, Philip Campbell's on the line. Okay. Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there. You may want to go on. In some of the rules I was looking through, I didn't see anything about range masters or anything like that. That's not in there that I saw. I may have missed it, but I know we discussed it at great length, or it was discussed at great length one time. And I didn't see anything in there that specified that. But if you're going with it tonight, it's got to really be nailed down. But I personally, I'd like to see if we could work something out with somebody that wanted to lease it and we're out of the loop on that thing. Yeah, I'd love to hear everybody's idea. You know, that's just mine.
I mean, I think if we have the right safety measures, we can keep the city entity, we could potentially make money off of it, just like we do for the golf course. And we can lease it to an organization if they want to have a shoot. We could even host a Playbird shoot out there because we have a real nice thrower and a real nice shoot. Turkey shoot. We could do some stuff like that. So bring turkey shoot. It'd be fun. I mean, we could do something like that. It'd be safe and fun, and we could hire or bring in, you know, safety officers for an event. But yeah, I mean, if we have to for insurance, you got to have somebody trained either way. So we have to have some extra safety measures. But I don't know about leasing. I think we've already done that once, and then we had to buy it back and do all that, and then keep it here and just make money off of it if we have it.
How would it? I mean, how would this work? I mean, I've heard different, you know, conceptions of somebody wants to go out and shoot 3:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday. Do they go out there? Do they contact? I mean,
The concept that we were talking about before, coming up with, is having in the city staff that are trained, and there's also community folks that volunteer, the retirees that are volunteer, that are enthusiasts about the gun club, that would volunteer to be range officers. And we have a system where they would reserve a time at the range. We would call either one of those reserved volunteers or the staff member that's trained. And yes, we have to pull a staff member from somewhere else to go do that, but then they would be able to go out there and be there to be that safety officer. That was the concept that we talked about before.
Even the guys that weren't there.
Right. And the downside to that is if you were to train, you know, Todd and Sean, that we have to pull them away from their duties at the golf course, which some people probably wouldn't appreciate. I mean, I would on the greens. I don't want to stop on the greens because if I come play golf, I want the greens. So, I mean, that's kind of the downside of that. But those volunteers, if we had that over, they could potentially alleviate that problem.
I think there's 4 or 5 volunteers now that.
Yeah, they said they'll take the training, they'll get certified, they'll maintain that certification in the city.
Well, I think 1 or 2 of them's already certified, possibly. I don't know that. But then Todd also threw out there that we might consider getting just a cheap cell phone and designate, like say there's 4 guys or 5 guys, designate those 4 guys that volunteer to have that phone for that week. And everybody in the 3 countries got that phone number. And if they want to go shoot at 3:00 on Thursday, call that guy. They have, you know, he may say, you got to give me 48 hours notice. Call him. Hey, can I come shoot at 3:00 on Thursday? Now make it 3:30. I'll meet you out there. He's out there, watches him, he shoots, he's done. Next week, pass the phone to somebody else and let them be on call.
I mean, we can throw that concept around all we want. We just have to put it in place before we, if we're going to motion anything to do it, we need to put those things in place before we make a decision to reopen it to the public. Because we can't without insurance anyway.
Yeah, we need someone there at the golf course, say Mr. Hendrick or Sanchez, and through, Wiseman. And they would have to oversee that to make sure that someone has the phone, someone's, responsible for answering the phone and doing things.
You could do it where it's just the only people with the key to it are the range officers, the person who's on duty. That way you can't get in without the range officers. But then we would still have to float. We have to put some kind of, we should probably anyway, put some kind of gear behind the other side of the tank over there by, where they built the dam. On the backside of 8 anyway, we should probably close it off, but you'd have to do that anyway, because once we open it, people are gonna think, I'll just cruise right over there and go use it, so.
So you're speaking of protocol, how are we gonna actually?
Yeah, the rules are great. They're fine. They're self-explanatory. They're reasonable. They make sense, but we have to have a, SOP on the rules and regulations of what's going on out there for the employees and for the shooters, because these rules are just safety and stuff. And when, it does talk about the keys and everything, but we can't insure the range or the TML without having to be certified folks anyway. So we can reopen all we want, but if we're not legally open, then it's dangerous and you claim liability right there.
What would you suggest? Would you or somebody want to sit down and formulate some protocols and bring it to the next meeting, or what would you suggest on that?
I'm not gonna vote yes to reopen until I know there's an SOP that puts us in compliance with the insurance and with our liability, because legally we're putting ourselves in the bind if we reopen it tonight, somebody goes out and shoots tomorrow and tomorrow we get in trouble. Because it's putting this live on the internet anyway, so we say yes to it now, we're kind of sticking our foot in our mouth.
Well,
That'd be something that would be my responsibility, and then bring that back to y'all and
Okay.
modify that however y'all wanted to, however the council wanted to.
Well, and that
I think y'all give us good feedback, to get started, and then we could bring that to y'all, and then we could.
Can I make a suggestion? But can we get this done like next month? Because there's a lot of guys out here in this audience that are shooters, and I'm one of them. I don't want this thing to drag on for 2 or 3, 4 more months, because these guys have been waiting 2 years, I guess.
You can tell us to do it next
Yeah.
week or 2
To
weeks,
shoot.
3 weeks. Just tell us when you want it done, and we'll have it done, and then we can have a council meeting. So we do it next month, next week. Y'all just gotta tell us what you want.
I
I don't know what your business.
We're gonna do it. Let's get on with it.
Let's get it done.
Talk to them 3 or 4 guys that want volunteers, if they want to do all that. We want to do that with Sean and them. Figure out what we're gonna do as far as the range. That's all that's the only thing we're worried about right now.
But we have to be with the audience, I think, and these are the advocates who want it open. So, upon you to give them an opportunity to speak real quick and at least see what they have to say. They might sway one way or the other too.
Yeah, I'm with Monty and Billy on that as soon as possible, because we've been talking about this since before I was on the council. I've been watching it on the videos. I watched it before I even ran, talking about this, even commenting on it before I ran, I'm pretty sure. So I'm all for getting this done as soon as
like
possible.
all that, what Bonnie said. If y'all are, we've got people out here that like to talk. Y'all want to go with this now, and unless y'all got something to say right now. Of course, you can say something later too, but if anybody'd like to comment on this, is any? Got 3 minutes. If you'll identify yourself.
John Zalasco,
Thank you,
am I
John.
coming through loud and clear? Yeah, we got people in this room that are very, very close to range masters, been down this road many times. The prime thing in the discussions I've had with about at least 10 people of let's call them serious folks, is safety. Number one, and any gun enthusiast, that's the first thing we teach our kids is safety. The thing we need to have is a willingness to open the range so that we can get the thing going. We need a committee of some kind that has authority, not just some ad hoc guys like you sitting out here. We need trained people. We need people who can train them, and we have them. Behind me, we need cameras. You haven't discussed that. We need cameras that show what's going on so that if any stupid things happen again, like happened before, and I do mean stupid, I'm sorry I stepped on toes, but if anything like that happens again, we can go backwards and find that, and at least take their membership away, if not something else. Because you can't have that. You already have in the plans that you have at the Salt Big Golf Course, it's already in there as to what the shooting range costs. Simply because if you start at $550 and you raise it to $750 to get fishing and shooting, it's a difference of $200. So I took and extrapolated that and decided that $200 might be a good starting point for people who just want to shoot, that sort of thing. Also noticed that we had in the paper tonight, somebody else got a clay shooting range somewhere else. We could have that here, so it would bring something else to our area. If we at least have your willingness to look with favor on opening this with serious people, none of us want kids killed. None of us want anybody killed. And it can be open if it has to be gradual. We can do that. If we have to start pistol and then mid-range and then long range, that can be done. It can all be worked out, but it is contingent upon your willingness to open the thing back up to serious shooters. And I've talked to them, and I think there's more armament in this town than there is in all of Ukraine, believe it or not. We have some serious people in town, and I think we need an outlet for it. At least my wife is complaining. She doesn't have a place to learn how to use her 38, so please take that on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Welcome to speak. Sean's gonna, thanks, Sean.
Thank y'all for letting me speak. Sean Stevens. I think the rifle range needs to be open, and if you're gonna have like a membership deal for it, I think if you pay for a year membership, I think you ought to at least be able to, if you're gonna have a range master, a school for it, you pay that guy to come in and give a class for one guy or 30 guys. It's all gonna cost the city the same. But, you know, but then you've got these other 20 to 30 people there that are range masters. And that way, like I said, if you call them up, a lot of people don't have nothing to do all day. Not like me, but a lot of people do. But I sure would like to shoot. I haven't been able to shoot here since I moved here. Unless I went out to somebody's farm or something like that. That range, when you had it, it's leased out. And when nobody shoot out there but them. I don't think we need to be leasing it to anybody. I think it needs to be for the community and people of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. That's good. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Come up.
Oscar retired, moved here 3 years ago. One of the last ones to shoot at that gun range before he closed it. I witnessed the stupidity that caused all this nonsense. And another commander here named Billy was there also. I'm in favor of reopening it. I missed it for the last, 2 hunt seasons. What I visualized is a website. Got everybody's name, phone number that wants to be part of it. I visualize not only the turkey shoots, but contests with maybe 22 rifles. Have a potluck, prizes, center fire tournaments, with a certain caliber gun and same thing, potluck. Nice prize towards the end. Just things like that. City working with all the guys behind me and more about all the other suggestions that are going to come our way. But I think it's a good idea. It's been missed for the last 2.5 years, and I see nothing but good things coming in the near future with that gun range. It's too nice a piece of property to let it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Just tell us your name and
Hi, my name's Jeff Wazisko. Just want to let you know, I've actually traveled here from Fort Worth. My father lives here in Seymour. My son and I have actually shot on the range beforehand, before it was actually closed. One of the things that I wanted to mention is, yes, I'm in full agreement opening this back up because it was a great tool for teaching my kids how to shoot. And one of the things that I think, I'm a BSA certified NRA range safety officer. I believe in it wholly and in teaching these kids how to safely operate a firearm and do it appropriately. And it's important for our generation to learn that. And having a tool like this, having a range out there, is one of the best things for them to do. If they don't have it, they won't learn. And having people that understand safety and are trained in it is a priority and needs to be. But also, training those individuals is of importance and carrying that on so everyone else knows that it's safe out there. So I'm fully in agreement to open this up. It could be done in a phased approach. If you feel unsafe about certain areas of that range, the short range or a pistol range could be the element of saying, hey, we're going to open up this area first, and then we'll move on to make sure that we're safe in those other areas. Some of the last comments I'll make for range safety officers, I know you were talking about having a phone. I actually set up systems for using Google Voice that actually sends out a message to all individuals in one group, and then the one person actually responds that's going to go do it. I think you can set up a system like that can make it very simple for them, rather than having one that has to carry a phone. It's a much easier process to do. So just wanted to throw that up as an option. Thank you.
let me pick your brain real quick. You're a range safety officer. You're what certification?
So you go through the we have a system to actually train or to sit by a youth to run a shotgun or run a 22 or any other high power firearm. We have to be range safety officers to do that. So as we go, it's a weekend long course. It takes about 16 hours to go through the course. They train you about what the importance of the range, how to use the range, safety mechanisms in the range. We go through interior range operation and also external outside ranges. We also go about and we learn about how to disarm or dislodge a firearm and how to do it appropriately. So, it's safe to do rather than having something dislodged inappropriately and having it accidentally go off. So the range safety officers learn about how to do that and do it appropriately so someone doesn't end up hurting themselves by doing it the wrong way. Picking a knife inside of a firearm is probably not the right thing to do. So, but it's a good process to go through, and I think the RSO is a good tool that could be. I don't know whether or not, and this is really the question of whether or not an RSO would meet the requirements of your liability. But from the BSA side, RSOs do. They meet all of our insurance requirements through the BSA. We don't have to have a range master, which is the next level.
Who is Boy Scouts of America give this training, or is it through another organization?
It's actually certified through the NRA. So
okay, that's what I was. Okay.
I actually have a card from the NRA that I get saying I'm a certified RSO.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's how we did it with the 4-H. For all the shootings worth the 4-H, we did that too. You just have to do it for each discipline of firearm, whether it's a pistol, 22, muzzleloader, shotgun. We went through all that for 4-H too. And it's a similar. So you do a weekend or a day course depending on which firearm it is, and then we go. Part of it's in class, part of it's on the range, hands-on. We go through all that process.
So, Jeff, when you're kind of working through some of this, you can find out from the insurance carrier what's do they need a range safety officer? Do they, what level of training is required for us to be coded? Because apparently they're different level, a couple of different levels. Anybody else? All right. Appreciate all the comments. Like I say, it's good to hear what people have to say. D12D, discuss, consider, and take possible action to accept bids for employee health insurance. Oh, okay, yeah, we do that now. Okay. Someone would like to make a motion on that?
Well, Jeff was wanting a time frame. Jeff's fixing to hate me for this. All you guys bombard Jeff's office and all you volunteers and help him try to get this done in 10 days. So we can get this thing open. Sorry, Jeff. That's my motion.
And then we'll have to bring it back to August meeting, right?
Yeah, there'll probably be some back and forth on
Yeah,
what
there'll
he
be
comes
some
up.
back and forth, so I want to take action next meeting. And again, get it either open, close it down, put notes on it, or open it up.
With the school, or even our own PD, the game warden, DPS, no one's allowed back there
If we can't make a decision by next month,
except one person. It'd still be back there. John Horn.
yeah,
Oh,
we'll send it back to him.
Skip, 25.
We close it down. It's
No,
not.
no.
Billy, that's a good point. I considered that. If it's closed, guess what? We're out of business.
I mean,
There is no gun range.
I'm not trying to be rude and trying to be, not saying that on public radio, but whatever, but I'm tired of this. I am ready to get this thing open. Yeah, my mom and dad's got a place I can go out there and shoot, but it's not like shooting at the range.
It's a nice range.
It's a
I mean,
very nice range. You can sit steady, it's just, it's a nice facility, like Skylar said, let's get it open. I want it open next month.
So let's just make it easier in motion. Let's just have it, everything, the SOP, price, plan on cameras, everything ready for the August meeting. 'Cause that way, because the cameras are a concern. I mean, it seems like from some of the folks, and I think the cameras are a good idea. We can set up a closed system where it'll record it and we can go back and review it. I think we can have something to take action on and look at an SOP at the August meeting to vote on, and that way it'll be done. For the cost for the cameras is really, I think, the only, the training.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
I mean, shoot.
Yeah, the price for single day use or for one-time use or membership, because
Yeah, that's a good point, Debbie. If somebody wants to have an event, what do you charge? Something to think about too.
You guys out there, what would y'all, if y'all had a little gun club, what would y'all,
Well, let's just say.
you know what I'm saying? Like this $500 a $500 a weekend for y'all to have the course out there, or y'all have y'all little shoot or y'all little tournament or skeet shoot or whatever? I mean, what would y'all think?
Well, I don't know, let's just say, you have, somebody wants to come out there and give a handgun class. You know what I'm saying? And maybe do for concealed carry or something like that. I would say $10 a person, just to use the range. I don't know if I would wanna, they may only have like 6 people come out there. Start from $500 for that, they're not gonna use it. They can't afford it.
Right.
So if you just charge so much a person to come out and let them do the class during the week, like maybe a Monday, where that would be designated. If you wanted to have a class like that, you could have it on a certain day. Instead of that way, you're not interrupting anybody else and shooting during the week.
Right.
I mean, I think we kind of have to figure it more of a broad kind of thing. I don't think we're going to be able to single it down to those, because I mean, like it's a class and an event. Classes like that would be a whole lot different than hosting
Well, it might not be-
a weekend turkey shoot where you could make couple $1,000 off of something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, or, cause I know a shotgun shoot clays are cheap, shells are cheaper than average. You can make some good money at a shotgun shoot. I mean, you can have a good turnout. Yeah, shooting, well, there's only trap out there right now, but, you must be put down temporary throwers, but yeah, there's only a trap range. But yeah, if you did something like that, I think we might have to do a little research, call around and see what people charge for events and stuff like that. But I think if we can get down like day use, if we can get down the SOP, that stuff, we can open it. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, we can phase in the event prices as they come play, and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So we can get it open and we can get people paying memberships for it. We can get people buying day passes if we can get it open next month and have something bringing in dollars instead of just mowing it for free.
Roger, you already kind of said about cameras. You talked to, what did you price one time?
I think I've had a bigger price, but $400. Guys already know, they weren't expensive. I mean, you could really get price if you want to, but.
Would they link back to your office where you could watch?
Well, we looked at it now, just have hard drive. It's the issue after you just download it and take it.
Not those cameras that raise and rear card, right?
Yeah. those little things.
Yeah, they will eventually, but I mean, you can go and upload.
Issues. 3 days.
Well, I'd check on maybe remotely get them back to your office and that way. You won't.
Barely get an email before.
Gotcha.
How's it work from the pool? I mean, is it because it's in town, so the internet's better for the pool? Cause I know we have the live feed from the pool and stuff like that, but it's because the internet service is better.
Yeah. They've got trees and all of that, so it's a better shot from City Hall. But we could try. There's a lot of things, you know.
I think
Do we have anybody out there? You got a motion on the table?
Motion's on the table.
What's the motion exactly?
No,
Well, you started the motion a while ago.
I'll make a motion that we table it. He did.
You want to move his motion? I did, yeah, I did.
I would move my motion.
Yeah,
He withdrew it.
Discuss that one.
We'll vote no.
I just want to make a motion that we table this to the August meeting, pending Jeff has the SOP wrote up for us to approve, price on the cameras and the price for memberships. That way we can make a decision in August whether we open or close it.
And the range master.
And the range master. Yeah. Well, the rules are here, but we just need to add in, because add the SOP in there. So basically follow the SOP, and then we need to add in the plan for the range master, whether it's volunteers plus city employees or however you want to do that, whatever that works with you guys, but we need to have that as far as the insurance goes.
A second.
We have a motion made. I think Conchita's writing it down, hopefully. Yeah, okay, it's recorded. Okay, and a second by Councilman Glass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. 5-0. And John, I'm sorry.
Simply to expedite things, is there a time when a committee can get together with Jeff? Discuss that as was suggested. Is there
You talking about a committee? Is that what you said?
whatever this group is
I
called?
would suggest, Jeff, you tell me, just make an appointment and
What we can do is get this worked out and then maybe we can call. I saw John, he and I busy talking anyway, and then maybe get put together to review it, get some feedback. And then put it together.
yeah. 10 days, just get more input. It's on and on, on and on. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. 30 days. Oh, and it kept going. 30. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the final item almost. 12D, discuss, consider, and take possible action to accept bids for employee health insurance premiums for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
So I've got the feedback. We've been going the budget on our health insurance premiums, and they're pretty about scared me to death. So I thought it might be a good idea just to go out and shop around. I probably might be able to get some more competitive bids with, I guess, some of the health benefits that would be equitable to what we have. But I'd certainly like the opportunity to shop around, and that'd save us some money. I've heard it increase like 32%. I've heard 17%. And so that could really eat us alive. And we may not find anything, but they can do our due diligence. We should at least shop around and look. I need y'all's permission to do that.
We'll give you permission to shop around for health insurance for the employees.
Okay. There's, did you want to discuss this?
No.
Scott, you're an insurance guy. You know.
The insurance market is just ridiculous right now. Shop around, definitely shop around.
Yes, and we need to, before we move on this, it's open to the public to comment on the insurance, the proposal to the city administrator, Dr. Jeff Brazier, shop around for a good deal. Save the city some money. Anybody like to speak on that?
I'll say something.
You bet.
What if we did like an 80-20 health insurance deal?
Well, I
mean, if it comes to that,
I think we may have to do that as an option depending on what those come in, and I could look at our bottom line. We may come back to y'all and we got to consider something like that. I mean, I would rather. I think that's one of the key benefits to working in the city is providing good quality insurance. But I know that some municipalities have done that, you know. So I mean, we can't take anything off the table until our budget's balanced and we're comfortable.
We always have that option just in case. So.
Yes.
I don't want to do it, but you know, there's
There you go. Exactly.
Thank you, Lane. Anyone else? We've had, I think, we got a motion. From, and second by Mr. Hendricks to allow Jeff to go out and shop. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None opposed. It's 5-0 to do this. Item number 13.
Number 8, we go back to 8. Yeah, sorry.
Cheating. Right along. City administrator reports. Jeff.
Okay. So first of all, as far as the software membership, we're up to 109. I think that we are seeing some increases there. And I just got to give kudos out to Todd and his team. I think the investments in infrastructure has allowed them to really keep that thing watered and looking really nice. 119, excuse me. And so anyway, you know, as the saying goes, build it and they'll come. And I think we're moving in that direction. As far as the employee list, I believe we got someone hired for the electric department. We haven't finished all the paperwork there, so I won't announce that quite yet. But right now, I think we just currently have a position open for the street department. As we know, when maybe retired, he's not officially turned in retirement, but we put it out there and started looking, just being proactive. All the supervisor written reports, of course, are in your packet for your review. And I just want to take just a few minutes. There in front of you is the budget for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. And I just want to kind of get some highlights of some things to make sure that we're going in the right direction of what I want as a council. So we have been working on this really hard. It is a working budget, so this certainly not the final product because there's still some work that has to be done. And I'll cover some of that here in just a moment. But just to refresh your memories, you know, over 90 to 95% of that budget is, of course, already obligated by previous councils, which will cover the city's debt, shared costs, staff salaries, insurance, utilities, attorney fees, technology, all those things. But also, the supervisors have been communicated and recommended what they feel their portion of the operation budget is. And so the direction that the supervisors were given is your budget, but if you want anything additional, any additional funding, we need to tell us what that is, how much you're requesting, give that justification for the council to review. And so none of the departments asked for additional operating monies. They feel like they can continue to operate within their current budgets. So all those have been put in there, except for those additional costs, which y'all voted on, and I'll cover those here in just a moment. The proposed budget reflects increases, of course, in various shared costs. Maybe you've seen increases. You go through there and look at each of those individually. Why is that? Well, we looked at the historical. We put in there the last 2 years that you could look at as well. Well, as what we anticipate moving forward to cover the expenses in those various areas. The shared costs include like CTSI. I know that we've had some council members question CTSI and our IT expenses. We did have a conference today, and we got some specific numbers on what that will look like moving forward. I can go over that with you in just a moment. Of course, then you got Schneider Engineering, copy machines, and turning fees, audit fees, and all those are built in and what we anticipate those shared costs will be for. And if you remember too, you look at shared across the budget. It's not in any one specific area, so it has to be broken up into the different departments. But we're talking about the CTSI budget specifically. What they quote us for the next fiscal year is, first of all, the infrastructure, which is $7,243, and then software for firewalls, servers, and switches. Then you have the managed IT and cybersecurity service, which is $45,370.80. Then it covers advanced security services, solutions that protect, of course, the city of Seymour, its networks from threats. You know, that was always one of my biggest concerns when I came in, is not having adequate cyber protection. So it allows us to call them Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, ask them any questions they have. They can give us that tech support. All that's covered. Disaster recovery and backup, $10,650. And then capital expenditure, $7,243.93. $7,243.93, and that's working software renewals and replacement of one workstation, and that is well antiquated. So total anticipated cost for CTSI moving forward, $56,021.52. Now, we have spent a lot of money with CTSI since we went into business with them. But you have to recall that our infrastructure was completely and totally dilapidated. We were open to cyber attacks, and so we basically updated all our computers, networking, our switches, our servers, and all that protected. So we are in great. Y'all wanted a Cadillac, so we got a Cadillac pretty much. So so moving forward, we're looking at $56,000 moving forward. Any questions on that so far? Okay. Debt service. Of course, the city has debt. We're obligated to pay the budget. So first of all, the main deficit that we have is on conference. I think we have one more payment of $10,425 left. Then we'd have to go and purchase new golf carts. 425. We have a sewer rotting machine. We owe $65,267. Motor grader for $89,186. What we built in the budget is to pay those two items off. How are we doing that? Well, we had several line items that have been sitting there for quite a few years. So we thought rather than that money just sitting there. One of those accounts, of course, was the reserve account we had for the coronavirus that y'all had received at some point. There's also a healthcare benefit reserve account. This was left over when the city of Seymour was self-insured. So we were wanting to use those two line items to pay off those two. That will save us a significant amount of money on interest. And I believe also the minutes that I read when y'all off the rotting machine said that would be paid off at a certain time, and that had never happened. So I want to make sure y'all know we're wanting to do that. If y'all have an issue with that, y'all need to let us know. We have one last payment on the skid steer of $6,594.30. It's built into the budget. The fire truck, we have a balance of $80,722. We had to put that $50,000 in that line item, and we use that and pay. Have a payment in November of 2023 and one of November of 2024. Both of those are $43,969. That's built into the budget. We have the winter freeze of $911, a balance of $911,000. So we have to make a principal and interest payment. $89,000 for the principal, interest of $12,500, which is built into the budget. We still have 8 EMI meters, which is $2,370,440, and we have an interest payment of $43,000. and a principal payment of 32,600, which is built into the budget. And an RO and sodium bond, of course, which we pay in partnership with Water. So that is the debt service that we built in. Any questions, concerns about the debt service and our approach, and any concerns about paying off the motor grader or the skid steer?
Money to do it, and apparently we do.
And we did also too, so we had to build that additional payoff. So we really can afford into the budget. So we kill numerous stones. And actually, any other questions from the council? Okay, and so then also we built in all the budget council priorities. I've asked y'all to give your input on that. I've met with each of y'all and y'all told me what your priorities were. So on the salary increase, we built in a 4% increase for all employees that have been here for at least a year. And so with that 4% increase, that was roughly $40,000 to $46,000. With that, includes your city administrator, your city secretary, but actually not your city secretary, she's retiring, so never mind on that one. So if y'all want it, we can get to you. So
let it be known.
So yeah, we're able to work that in there. I know there's been discussion between 3%, 4%. We put a 4%, but y'all don't like that direction, and I need to know that sooner than later if y'all want me to do something different. Yeah, thank you. Also, line out to say the auto water storage tank, we put 10,000 in there, as y'all proposed. The street department increased to 20,000 to make further improvements on streets. Dilapidated properties, we increased to 10,000. You won't see that in the street department. You see that reflected in the sanitation department. That's where most of your costs are, is when you have to get those roll-offs, you pay for that. So trying to focus there. Remediate the water wells. We had about $45,000 there to continue work on that one. We're going to try to get that paid for again by that grant. That continues to be a priority based on feedback from our council. I did talk to Anthony again about changing the copper wire to aluminum wire. I think some of y'all had suggested the bucket truck, mentioned that to me. He liked that idea, and so he wanted to start putting money closer over to the bucket truck. So we did use some of the money for tree trimming. We did put money in a line item that balance has gotten up, I think, over $40,000. So rather than just to continue building that up, we're going to move that money over, start trying to put money in for a bucket truck. Our electric department is really proactive about cutting limbs, but we do have a significant savings account there to really do a big cut if we need to. So if y'all don't like that, y'all need to let me know. Now, we also talked about the airport runway seal coat. That's something y'all said was a priority. However, I talked to the Parkway engineers. That is a project that we will initiate beginning in 2026. They said that'd be the time that we go and we through the apron and all the approaches to the runway. The lot project will be done. We'll do that, but he said they would include that in that project, the seal coat of the runway. So we're not having to put any money for that project currently. We're also ready to line item to start trying to save some money for a new pump and filter system for the swimming pool, as y'all recommended. I know we talked about the mini excavator and trailer. We would like to use the ARPA money for that in the police car. Y'all didn't vote as high, but that was still on the party list. I use the ARPA money, but again, I know there's variables there that may or may not allow us to do that. And we put the lean-to shed behind the water department for 14,000. We're trying to build a purchase and pick up the water department right now in the current budget. We have the money. We have $36,000 that we've saved to do that. I really didn't want to spend that money right now because we're still not caught up. Our expenditures right now are exceeding our revenues. So I really didn't want to spend that money currently until we see that improved as well. So those are what council prioritized. So we'll just go down the list and try to plug those numbers in as to what y'all said were most important to you. Any questions about any of that or concerns or anything I need Okay, and then just as far as the revenues, I know there's some questions about the revenues right now. Our electric rates, we've gotten some feedback from LCRA. We did see a drastic increase. We're trying to renegotiate and get that lowered. You can see right now maybe a 2% increase on what our current rates are. But Schneider Engineering is working with LCRA on trying to get that lower. They're looking at some other options. So we're not really ready to bring that to y'all now. Probably the next council meeting, we'll bring those numbers to y'all. But right now we did build in revenues, the same amount of revenues that we hope we can keep the same revenues now as we did last year. So we're not looking to increase that at all. Sanitation revenues remain the same. Water rates will remain the same. Our tax revenues right now, won't get those final numbers until the 5th. And in that case, we'll have to run all our ads in the paper and go through that process. We'll have to have a public hearing for y'all kind of go over the tax rate. Current tax rate right now is 0.43625. And I think we're anticipated to levy about $409,000 for this fiscal year, and for the next fiscal year, we anticipate to levy about $472,000. So, know that is on that committee, so that could vary. But right now, that's kind of what we're looking at. Is what we're seeing an increase there. I was told that Barrett County is still had a lot of protests, and they settled over 100 informal protests as to date. So they've been really busy on getting that done. So. Also, what
They did say this morning, they're talking potentially about holding off on taking those payments until after November when the election, when they talk about that, some of those homestead exemptions changing up and things like that. So that was something that they said when we're talking about budgets now, we don't want to be aware of, that they may be holding off on doing certain payments on taxes and taking payments until November or later November. So they'll have to put that notice out, let everybody know, but just so you know, to adjust for those rates to help us plan better, basically.
Thank you for the work that you're doing there. In Fund 01 on the non-operating, you'll see a reduction of $289,000. That's because of the ARPA funds counted as revenue, but now we've already seen that revenue, so you're going to see that huge reduction there. And in Fund 02, in the non-operating revenue, you'll see that decrease by $1 million because of the airport. When we receive that money, that project will be taking place in the next 2, 3, 4 months. So that reduction, you'll see there as well. So right now, everything looks good, and appreciate all the hard work for everyone. We'll continue to work on it and continue to bring it up to speed. So as you really dig into that and look at that, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to come by, talk to me, talk to Barry. She's been involved as well, but any of us be able to answer those questions for you. Again, upcoming city events, talk about right now next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're having a golf camp. And so my numbers are going up. I think I got about 20 right now, so I'm super excited about that. So if anybody wants to come there and volunteer for, it's going to be from 9 to 12, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so if anybody wants to volunteer to help work with some little kids, our whole purpose for doing that is to try to increase membership, but at the same time, have the opportunity to teach kids a lifelong sport that they can enjoy throughout their lives. And we charge a minimum fee of $20. Just received $900 donations from Waste Connections, but also from the City Golf Association. So we bought a lot of great prizes for the kids that participate. Then also, you're welcome to come out on Thursday at noon. Waste Connections is cooking cheeseburgers and fries, and I have a spread there. So nothing else would be great to see our city council. It'd be great to see our city council. Just nothing else to show up and shake people's hands or wave. Free meal too, and so we'd love to have y'all help if y'all like to do any of that as well.
Good. Thank you, Jeff. That's good.
I got one question. The department reports on the water. We need to put this in the back of our head about drought contingency. It's getting dry.
Well, I
know we had rain the other day, but it don't last long. It's dry.
Well, John does a great job of monitoring our well levels, and they monitor that very carefully. And so we all have actually, I think about 3 or 4 months ago, that was a drought contingency plan that was written by Jacob and Martin, our engineers. So we do have that in hand. And we're monitoring that. We'll certainly bring that to y'all's attention.
I know Wichita went into
Yeah.
stage one or Owl Park.
Owl Park does, but I was
Maybe
at,
stage one.
people were already talking about, complaining about people watering yards and stuff. So I was down there to say, yeah.
Limited water in yards and stuff on certain days.
Oddly enough, before I came up here, I had to watch Wichita Falls news that much, but I watched the weather and they actually had a map showing where the worst part we were out of, believe it or not. And like I say, maybe it was a bad map, but he had it up on the big screen and it's like it kind of looped around us and hit Wichita Falls and Owl Park and all that. So maybe we're in pretty good shape.
Well, everybody in this room knows how quick.
Yes.
It dry.
Absolutely. Here's the deal. And this
It's getting there.
I've had a lot of feedback from citizens as well. And I think there's numerous variables the council needs to understand. Of course, we do monitor that and watch that. But even if we have water restrictions, citizens have several issues with that. A lot of times they'll go ahead and they'll water more, thinking, oh my goodness, it's kind of like you think we're out of gas, everybody runs, buys gas. But then people also have issues with, that people invest in their trees and flowers, and then we have these water restrictions, things die, and we're sending all this water, the water to all different parts of the county. People really get upset, about that as well. And then we've also been told too that even though we can restrict, the impact that it has on the overall amount of water as compared to the farms and the irrigate is so minuscule that it really doesn't even have really an impact. So I just bring that up for you to kind of think about, so we can we can plan and we can think about that, but consider all those other factors and the minimal impact it has. It's not going to save our lives if it got that bad.
Me too. Someone like to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you.
You all like to chew?
I've been waiting for it.
I am, I'm busting.